Saturday, the start of the divisional round and the start of our Detroit Lions playoff run, as well as Ben's Kansas City Chiefs playoff run. We have two divisional games today, the two one seeds. Kansas City will be playing the Texans, and the Lions will be playing the Commanders. We do have two more NFL divisional games tomorrow as well. Probably a little bit better games. Both games today are 8.5 point spreads, so a little juicy. But we do have a full slate of college basketball as well today, including four ranked games. We did not get our college basketball show out today for the weekend because of preparation for this NFL game or NFL day. But we will be talking about some college basketball. So if you do want some college basketball previews and bets, make sure you stay tuned for the live today. We also will briefly talk about NBA, NHL, but our main focus today is college basketball and, of course, the NFL playoffs. Ethan, welcome. I know we've never been the one seed before, the Lions, and we were talking about it in our NFL preview. If you guys do want to check that out, that is over on our page. But we were talking about that, and we're one, and I don't want to ever look ahead because that is the worst place you can get. But one win, if you win this game, Lions get into the conference championship game, and it just seems, I don't know, it seems nice to have that first round bye, especially for us when we were so banged up. Chance to get healthy, but it just makes the playoffs that much easier. It's hard to win one game in the postseason. So if you get rid of that and have the bye, it adds a lot of less stress. But again, you got to take care of business, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves or feel complacent, but it is a decent feeling. But Ethan, welcome. Happy Saturday. How are you today, and how you feeling about the bets?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, a great feeling. That being said, a lot at risk here because if Detroit loses today, that is the most disappointing loss I think in Detroit sports history. 15-2, one seed, division winner on the final game of the year, and yeah, you got to go out there and win this game. So I'm confident. I think they do it. I ultimately think they cover the spread. I'm not going to bet it. Like I said in our NFL show, which is out now, if you guys want to go check that out for breakdowns on all four games. But I might have to put real money on Washington because that's just how it's been going. Whatever I'm betting has been losing. Yeah, so I don't know if I can put my money on Detroit just for that reason alone, but I'm confident that they will win this game.
Yeah, I hope they do. I am going to stay away from the spread on Detroit just because I know if I take it, it's going to lose. I don't have a great feeling about or super positive lean about the spread. Again, 8.5, 9.5 points is just a lot for a playoff game. I know the Commanders are um, a different class of football team, I think, but it's just a lot of points, and that's something I'm not going to get involved in. So I do have the player prop route. I have been posting on Twitter this morning so far. I will have a couple more bets player props on there. So I went the player prop route. Ethan usually goes the game line or the game spreads or stuff like that. So you'll get every sort of bet today in the NFL. But let's start off. Ethan, you wanted to mention on the NBA. I will say I did bet the NBA yesterday. I bet my first spread of the in a long time. I took the Pelicans -11 and it hit. So maybe I'm back. Maybe I'm back. I also took my first total 2 days ago. I used to be really big in NBA totals, and that one hit. So I'm 1-1 or 1-0 on totals, 1-0 on spreads in my last 2 days of the NBA. I really said I don't want to get back into the sport, but I might have to of just the coming to the end of the NFL and college football. There's just not that many options. So, Ethan, take it away. What do you like today in the NBA?
Yeah, well, just for to back that up, I thought I was back. I had hit two in a row, and then I lost my last two. My NBA is complete ass this year. It's really bad. I actually just updated my spreadsheet here. I'm 38.64%, down over 10 units. So take that with what you will. I've never lost in the NBA until this year, which is par for the course for every single sport. But kind of a small slate, but I do kind of have opinions in most every game. Nothing in the Suns Pistons at 4 o'clock Eastern here. Hawks Celtics, though, I do like the Hawks +10. Um, the Celtics are playing the second of a back to back, both games at home. They had a nice, easy breezy win against the Magic last night. But after today's game against the Hawks, they do have a 4-game road trip out west. Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, Mavs. That starts on Monday. And that's Monday through Saturday. So a lot of games out west. Just don't love the spot here for the Celtics. Hawks are getting Trae Young back, which typically we would look for to fade that, but he was only out one game. So I don't think that's a huge deal that he'll be back. I think that's going to help us. So I do like the Hawks plus 10. I lean the Sixers plus 9.5 without Joel Embiid, which he doesn't play anyway. I hate that guy. Um, but they just lost 2 games at home. They've lost 4 straight. 3 of 4 were at home. Now they're hitting the road for a 3-game road trip. So I like that they're getting um, away from home. And then Pacers just had a road win against the Pistons. They're coming back home for a 2-game homestand. It's not a game that I love, but I just think the Sixers hitting the road after struggling at home is kind of a spot I'm looking at. And then my 2 favorite here, I actually love the Wizards plus 13.5. Um, Tough to back them. They only have 6 wins on the season, but same thing. They just came off 3 straight losses at home, which again, 6 wins on the season, so that's not totally unexpected. But now they start an extremely long road trip. I believe it's 6 games out west: Warriors, Kings, Lakers, Clippers, Suns, Mavs. Then you have the Warriors, who uh, were on a 4-game road trip. They started off with a win against the Pistons, dropped their next 2 to the Pacers, and then on Wednesday had a satisfying 1-point win against the Timberwolves to tie up that road series. Now they're back home, game against the Celtics on deck on Monday, short turnaround time. So I think they're feeling decent about how they finished that road trip. Probably overlooking the Wizards with the Celtics on deck. So that's probably my favorite bet in the NBA, even though it's completely disgusting. And then finally, I like the Cavs -7. They're off the loss against the Thunder and what could have potentially been the matchup of the year. And we just saw that like a week prior, the same matchup where the Cavs beat them. The Thunder just got their revenge. Um, but they're 1-1 on their current road trip. This is their final game. So I think they're looking to go 2-1 on that road trip. And then you have the Timberwolves, who are on their second of a back-to-back, third in 4 nights with travel. Lost to the Warriors on Wednesday, traveled to the Knicks last night, got a nice convincing win, and now traveling back home for that game against the Cavs. So I don't like the spot for the T-Wolves. I like the spot for the Cavs. Um, so yeah, those are. I'm not locked any of those bets in, but I think the Wizards and the Cavs are probably my favorite. Then probably the Hawks. Sixers is just a decent lean.
Yeah, I didn't realize Detroit Pistons play. Is that at home?
Yeah,
So they play at home at 4. Lions play at 8, 8:30.
yeah,
Who came up with that? I guess I didn't know if playoff schedules are only figured out that soon ahead of time. But yeah, that's going to be pretty crazy downtown Detroit today,
yeah.
especially with both stadiums. Little Caesars isn't it's not right near the stadium, is it? But
Nah, it's a little ways away, but
okay, yeah.
here's while you're on that, that just made me think. I think on Wednesday night, did you see the Clippers and Lakers both had a home game at the same time?
Clippers and the Lakers.
Yeah,
Do they play in
Clippers
the
were
same
not.
stadium? Oh,
Clippers were somewhere else. But I was like, I've never seen those 2 teams both play at home. Clippers were at 10:30, Lakers were at 10, and the Lakers were at Crypto Arena. Um, and the Clippers were at Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California.
huh.
Thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but I guess it does get pretty crazy. I don't know how like MSG does it. Like they have you know basketball, they have hockey, they have all the concerts. I have no I the scheduling person of that stadium. God rest their soul. That has to be a terrible job.
Yeah,
But yeah, I like some of those NBA plays. I don't hate the Hawks at all. Um, especially fading the Celtics is never a bad idea. Then again, I usually would like fading the Cavs, and they are unreal against the spread. But um, yeah, I don't hate it. I won't be on any of those, but I definitely like the leans in there. If you guys do want some more NBA or have any more NBA questions, let us know in the comments. But let's transition quickly to NHL. NHL has been rough for me. It started off pretty hot, just basically taking the system of just the weird lines when a team has a lesser record or lesser record, lesser points is either a favorite or a fishy underdog. I usually liked jumping on those, and now it's just not hitting at the moment. That's kind of how I figure a lot of trends go in betting. We kind of waited for the NFL one to bounce back. It never did. The public players just kept hitting, but it usually goes on a couple different. The beginning of the NFL, we remember we were hitting pretty solidly, and then the public, like you said in October is like the month of the public. They start figuring things out. They start getting better at betting, and then it just never ended. The public just kept hitting from October up until what are we, January. So that's how betting works. So I do have to change my view on the NHL a little bit, just because what I've been doing has not been working. But a couple decent games today, including our Red Wings. They are not at home. That would have been crazy for Little Caesars. But um, yeah, what do you like or leaning in the NHL?
Yeah, so I really don't have a ton. And yeah, I'm like I got absolutely clobbered early season NHL. Was down more than 10 units before I could blink. Um, then I started following your little system there with the fishy lines, brought myself back multiple units, had a nice little run, and it's all gone to shit since. I'm back to where I started. Um, so NHL is just extremely tough for me to get a solid read on. So I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm still trying to find my way. I'm going to be very gun shy in the NHL moving forward, probably the rest of the year, and I'm probably just going to basically scrap it and try next year to figure something out. But one thing that did catch my eye is just going back. If you look at um, the Stars, they're off that loss to the Canadians. They had a 5-game road trip where they went 4-1, came back home for that game against Montreal, and then had to hit the road again today for the Avalanche. Had I seen that, I probably would have loved Montreal. I have heard on podcasts from ex NHL players that coming home off a long road trip like that is very tough in hockey, and I just haven't paid that much attention to it this year. But sure enough, the Canadians won outright 3-1. They're like plus 180 money line. Um, so I think at this point just kind of looking for spots like that to jump in. I have not didn't have quite enough time to look through every game. I got up until like through the 7 o'clock games basically. Didn't see anything jump out, so I'll finish looking at some point today, and I'll post if I have anything. But I guess my biggest lean would be the Avalanche.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I think that's what I need to look at. I think we can still kind of look at the fishy lines and go with that, but I think a big part of the NHL, just because these teams played pretty much just as much as the NBA. And if you guys are unaware, I know their shifts are only 60 seconds long, but hockey is a much more physically demanding sport. So I think I definitely have to jump a little bit more into scheduling spots, back to backs, travel, just because it takes a little bit longer for the body to recover in hockey compared to NBA. And like I said, they play a very similar amount of games. So that's something that I might have to jump in. So for example, I know the Penguins played last night. Um, it's kind of a fishy line. The Capitals I don't love just because they're kind of like the Predators and just have weird lines. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with that. I usually would take the Penguins, but the one thing would keep me off that was because they played a back to back last night. But yeah, if anyone in the comments can tell us why the the Predators are still getting ridiculous lines, I don't understand it. They are 15-22. They are one of the worst teams in the NHL, and they are currently minus 170 at sure, they're at home against the Wild, one of the better teams of the NHL. And this is every single game for the Predators, home or away. They're always overvalued. I feel like they barely win unless I don't bet them, then it's a guaranteed win for them. But I just don't get the Predators, man. I don't understand the lines. Is it because they have Stamkos? Is that the only reason? I guess they got is they got Marchand or whatever?
Yeah, Marcia so
Marchessault is he a new
Saros.
addition?
Yeah, so those were the two big ones in the off season.
So that's why they're
Um,
getting love?
I think. I mean, yeah, they have. Yeah, I mean, you go down their roster, like they're being priced as how they should be. They're being priced as the talent on the team, not how they've
Right.
played. So yeah, I don't get it. Like I understood it in November because everyone's like, okay, they're gonna flip it around, and they at this point, like they're done. Like they're not
Yeah,
gonna make the playoffs.
they're toast. And they're
Yeah,
still minus 170 today. Very similar team. Like Capitals are priced, I think, on their talent and not Capitals. One of the best records in the NHL, and they get shit on by Vegas odds. And I
Yes.
think it's because Ovechkin's 65 years old. Besides that, TJ, do they have Oshie still? I have no idea. Tom Wilson, who is sucks but just beats the shit out of guys. I mean, this team is phenomenal. They're 30 and 10, one of the best records in the NHL, and they get terrible odds from Vegas. And I think it's just because of their roster. They don't. I don't know if obviously Vegas knows everything, and we can't outsmart Vegas, but I mean, they have chemistry. They know how to play. Whereas I don't think the Predators have an ounce of chemistry on that team.
Right.
They might have the stars, but they don't have they don't know how to win games. So it's just weird, and that's just kind of how the hockey's been going this year. Just I've been trying to attack these weird lines, and unfortunately for the Predators, I have been getting crushed. I should probably start jumping on the Capitals because they might be an absolute wagon at the moment. But yeah, it's a weird sport at the moment in the NHL. We're in a little I don't know what portion of the season we're through, but I think it's that time of the year in the NHL where I got to reevaluate my betting strategy. So for me, no plays in the NHL. I won't have any today, even if I do like something, just because our next two sports up are more important and I'm more involved in and care more about. So, do you have anything else NHL before we hop over to college basketball real quick?
Yeah, just one last thing I'll say because you did bring up the Penguins and the Preds. So the Penguins actually just last night started a 7-game road trip, and it's a weird one. They start out east, Sabres and Washington, then they head west, play the Kings, Ducks, Kraken, Sharks, and Utah. Um, so I was kind of salivating. I was like, great, that'll give us a nice chance to fade them that first game back home, 7-game road trip. It's against the Predators, so the Preds are probably gonna be like minus 250. But yeah, that's February 1st. That's the next time that Pittsburgh plays at home, which is kind of crazy. But I don't know. That's from here moving forward. That's kind of how I'm gonna start approaching hockey. Is just finding those spots where the team comes back home off a successful road trip. I think that's a big part of it. If they lost that road trip, got killed, probably not gonna bet it, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you're my schedule guy, so I need you to. You're my spot and schedule guy, so I need you to kick that into gear, and I'll gladly tail whatever
Hmm.
you come up with. Let's jump over to the college basketball. We do have these are starting pretty quickly here at 12. Is a couple games here. We have four ranked matchups today. I'm going to go through the four quickly just to tell you, and then we can go dive into the games later. But starting in about 53 minutes, we have Alabama number 4 at number 8 Kentucky. We have Auburn at Georgia, number 1 versus number 23. We have a Big Ten matchup, number 17 Purdue at number 13 Oregon. And then we have another SEC matchup, number 21 Ole Miss at number 15 Mississippi State. I do have 3 bets locked in. I don't know how many more I'm going to add. But I'll just start with this noon game, top 10 matchup, the only one of the day. Alabama, Kentucky. Kentucky is a 2.5 point favorite at home. Over under this game is 397. Um, just kidding. It's
Still not
178
high
and a
enough.
half. Yeah. Uh, it is a massive total with two teams that love to score. I think there is a clear. I know it's at Kentucky. It's extremely hard to win at Kentucky on the road. I just think there is a big difference of teams here. I think Alabama is on a different class than different level than Kentucky. I don't even think it's close. So I did take Bama plus the points. I know it goes against our system, and a lower ranked team is favored against a higher ranked team. So Kentucky 8 is the favorite against number 4 Alabama. But I just think Alabama's a better team. They've won on the road this year before. They played bigger and better teams at Kentucky. I like Alabama. I think they win it outright, but I'll take them at the plus 2.5. And it is one of my official bets today in college basketball.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've not bet it, and I don't think I am going to. I actually wouldn't talk anyone off the over either. Like I don't see where the stops are coming in this
It's probably
game.
going to, yeah, 100, 106, 100 is going to be the final of this game.
Right, right. Like Vegas can't put the number high enough.
No.
Um, but yeah, I was dead wrong on these teams earlier in the week. I said Bama was going to cover a double-digit spread against Ole Miss. Nope, they lost by double digits. I said Kentucky was going to not cover against A&M, potentially lose outright. Yeah, they won and covered. So I was actually looking to bet on Kentucky here had that went that way. Turns out it went completely opposite. Yeah, I like Bama. I think Bama was looking ahead to Kentucky. Kentucky is the class of the SEC in basketball. They have been for 15 years. Um, and I think it means a little bit more for Alabama to go on the road and beat Kentucky. Yes, Kentucky's going to try to defend home court. Um, I don't know though. They're off 2 ranked wins, Mississippi State and Texas A&M. Yes, it'd be nice to get the 3 in a row, but I think Alabama's better. Every time I talk about Bama, I mention it, but I just think when they get running up the floor, which Kentucky is probably one of the best to go point for point with them. But if they're hitting their shots, I mean, it's just tough to really run with Alabama. So, um, yeah, I don't think I'm going to bet it, but as far as viewership goes, just for college basketball fandom, that's probably going to be your best game of the day.
Yeah, I've convinced myself I'm gonna take Alabama team total on the over. I really think they score close to 100, so I might take an adjusted. I don't know what their line is. Let me check real quick. But yeah, I am 100% going to take the Alabama over in this game,
They're
especially
like
off of that. You know,
86 and a
I
half.
forgot Alabama was coming off that loss where they also kind of got shut down offensively. I think they scored in the 60s. I think I saw. Let me double check that.
87 and a half for their team total here.
Yeah, I'm going to be on that. I'm going to lock that in actually right now. Yeah, Bama team total on the over. Yeah, they just scored 64 points against Ole Miss. So, um, yeah, I am going to be on Bama on a huge bounce back game. Also, Bama, I think, wins that game outright. Moving on in the college basketball world, I have 3 plays, and there's probably 100 games today, so we can't cover everyone or have picks on everyone. And this is conference I need to get more involved in. Is the Big East. They've kind of gone under the radar. Not a whole lot of ranked teams. I think UConn's ranked, and I don't know if anyone else is ranked at the moment. But there is a decent Big East game, UConn Creighton. I don't have anything in that. Big 12 game, Houston UCF, ACC game, Virginia Louisville. I don't have a whole lot else at noon. And then I do have a play in that second ranked matchup between Auburn and Georgia. Do you have anything in between those at time slot?
I don't. Just really quick, just to pop back over to Bama and their team total. Looking at the Ole Miss game, which Ole Miss does have a top defense. I think they're like top 30 defense in the league. They held Bama to just over 40% from the floor, 25% from three. It went 19 for 26 free throws, so not great free throw shooting. Um, so yeah, I mean it was just an off night against a solid defense against Ole Miss. So yeah, I think there's kind of a bargain on that number after that performance. But yeah, Ole Miss defensively is better than Kentucky. Also, so I just have to say this too, and I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago, but I feel like the realignment makes it tough to stay up to date with some of these conferences. Like you just mentioned the Big East. Um, like most of the ranked teams now are the Big Ten and SEC. So it's like I find myself not very well in tune with the ACC whatsoever. Big East, Mountain West, um, Big 12. I mean, there's just I don't know. It's I don't know if I love the realignment so far in college basketball because it just feels so SEC Big Ten dominant. Um, and yeah, I think you and I, our bread and butter was kind of those a little bit smaller conferences. Not that the ACC is small, but in basketball, they're not super dominant. Like, well, they have been, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I don't love that because I'm in the same boat. When I look at the ACC games, I'm just like Virginia Louisville today. I'm like, I know Virginia's not great. I know Louisville's decent, but I just don't have a feel. So, yeah, my college basketball for today is kind of backloaded. I don't have any bets or really love anything in the early window.
Um, One thing you did mention about these power conferences, Big Ten has 18 teams, and I saw a graphic, and I didn't even think about it until I was watching either the Michigan game or some other Big Ten game. For the Big Ten tournament, not every team makes it. It's like
Weird.
what I think there's like 15 or 14 teams make it, so 4 teams get left out of the Big Ten tournament, which usually it's everyone's in. But
Yeah.
with 18 teams, you're going to be playing. You're going to have to start that tournament on Monday, and it's going to finish on Sunday. Like that's like a mini March Madness. So
Yeah,
it's just weird. It works in college football, I guess, just because you don't have to play every team. You can, I don't know. It's tough in college basketball. Do they play every team? I
they
don't know.
play every team, but they barely like Michigan State only doubles up against Illinois, Minnesota, and Michigan. It's the
Okay.
only 3 teams they play twice. So
Yeah.
then, yeah, I'm not sure who Michigan obviously has Michigan State twice, which I think that'll continue.
Yeah.
They probably have Ohio State twice, maybe, I would assume.
I have
I
no
don't know
idea.
that for sure. Yeah, it's
I do.
interesting, but yeah,
I
only 15 make the tournament.
I do like the new thing they got going with Michigan State is I think the last couple years, I don't know if it's just been the coincidence or if it's been purposeful, but the last game of the year, regular season, has been Michigan State the last 2 or 3 years. I
Yeah,
think they should really keep that going because that's fun. That's fun. And yeah, not like the game. Well, I guess some years it could mean quite a bit getting that last win in the regular season, but I hope they continue that. I don't know if it's purposeful, but I do enjoy the last game. I don't enjoy playing Michigan State 2 weeks before that and then playing them again. I
right,
don't even know if
which
it's. I think
happens
it's like
every year.
10 days or something. But I would love if they would play in November and then play again in February or March, whenever March. But yeah, I don't know.
Dude, I looked at the get-in price, excuse me, at the game at the Chrysler Center. Tickets are insane. It's like
Already,
close to $200.
Jesus
Jesus,
Christ.
it's a regular season matchup, which I've been to the Chrysler Center way long time ago, but it's been a while. Is it a smaller stadium?
Yeah, it's like
That's got to be
yeah, it's tiny, like
okay. That's
eight
got to be
thousand
why.
maybe.
Okay,
I think Breslin's 14,
yeah,
maybe more. Yeah, Chrysler's pretty small.
yeah.
Um, all right, then let's go to Auburn and Georgia. This is my second bet in the college basketball slate today. Auburn, off of are now the number one team in the country, defended that title against Mississippi State, where they absolutely destroyed them. That game also lost me $1,500, which was a shot in the dick. Um, yeah, without Broom or Brom, whatever his name is, probably going to be top 5 overall draft pick. He looks like he's a 45 already. Um, but yeah, they had 2 tough games against Texas and South Carolina where they squeaked by and then absolutely destroyed ranked Mississippi State. Um, Destroyed them by just enough to screw me. And then we have Georgia over here who got destroyed by Tennessee, but well, they'll probably be out of the rankings after this week, but they are still ranked. They're 14-3 on the year. I am gonna take a shot on the home team, Georgia, here, and I took them at the +6.5. Again, Auburn, number one team in the country. People had their doubts if they could continue that without their best player. And they won with ease against Mississippi State, winning that game by 20. Now they travel to Georgia, who just lost bad to Tennessee. I know Georgia was on the road in that game, but I don't really think people are going to give too much value to Georgia, even if they are at home, just because of how dominant Auburn looked. I think it's a good game for Georgia to catch Auburn a little off guard, potentially overlooking this game. I know Auburn plays Tennessee. Yeah, it's next Saturday. So long break for Auburn here, but it is potentially a look ahead spot. That's potentially also the game of the year so far. Tennessee will probably be ranked higher than 6 at that point. But I like Georgia. I took them at the +6.5. I think they have a legitimate shot of winning this game. Again, I do think Auburn is unanimous number one team in the country, but I think this is a bad scheduling spot, and it's a good spot for Georgia to bounce back after a bad loss.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, and I have not locked this in, but I do think I will end up locking in Georgia. 14-3, and 2 of those losses are on the road at Ole Miss, and that game you just mentioned against Tennessee. Their only true home loss was which let me even verify. It might not have even been. No, it wasn't. It was in the Bahamas back in November against Marquette. So they haven't lost a true home game this entire season. They have home wins against Kentucky and Oklahoma. Um, so whatever they're doing down there in Georgia, giving them great home court advantage. And then, yeah, you mentioned it with Broom. I know, I think we were both on Auburn in our episode last
Mm-hmm.
week. Um, and my main reason for liking it was Broom being out, the injured player theory, the team rallying around his injury. Well, they did that. They came out with a 22-point victory. Then you kind of look to fade that the next game because they did it. They know they can win without him. So it's kind of a letdown natural letdown situation, and they have to go play Tennessee on deck. That game is not until a week from today, so I wish it was a midweek game that they had to play Tennessee. Um, but yeah, Georgia hasn't lost a true home game. Bad spot for Auburn. I like Georgia plus the points.
Yeah, and I don't know if they can do it outright. Auburn is so freaking good. They're especially down at the end of the games. They just don't make that many mistakes. But if they do happen to make any mistakes, I think Georgia might have a chance to either tie this or win this at the end of the game. Um, Sorry, my app's not loading at the moment. I have one more bet. Let me see what time this is at. Here we go. In college basketball, again, massive slate today. Um, we have Kansas State, Kansas. I'm not going to talk about, but it is a rivalry for some sorts. Again, another Big East game. Marquette is another Big East ranked team that I forgot about. Marquette, Xavier today. Um, Again, a lot of games. Apologies for not diving into all of these. We do have a Big Ten game that I do not have a bet, but I think I'm leaning it. We'll talk about that quickly. Purdue, Oregon. Purdue's number 17 in the country. Oregon's number 13. This is at Oregon. I kind of like Purdue here in this spot. Oregon, two massive road wins, which is again is really hard to do in the Big Ten. They won at Ohio State, won at Penn State. Not great teams, but again, very tough place to play. I guess Ohio State's a little better than Penn State. Won both those games by a combined 3 points. So squeaked by, but a win's a win. And then or Purdue just destroyed Washington at Washington. They're already out there. Don't really have to travel for this game. The travel was affected in that Washington game. Now they've been out there for a couple days. I kind of like Purdue to win at Oregon here. They are plus 2.5. It's a major lean. That game's at 3 p.m. Eastern time today. A bet that I am probably 70% going to lock in at this moment. Do you have any lean or read on that Big Ten matchup?
I really don't. I could see it going either way. But I do kind of think down the stretch, Oregon might be a fade team. I think they're a good team, but I just don't know if they're going to keep up what they've been able to do so far this season. So, like I'm seeing bracketologists put them as a 2 seed, which I don't see them being a 2 seed. I would much more see them as a 4 or 5 in the March Madness tournament. So I think Oregon down the road is a fade team. I don't know if this is the game that uh, starts that. It very well could be, but I'm going to stay off of that one. I don't have a strong lean either way. Um, Go ahead.
Probably smart. We'll continue down the road unless you have something else. A game that fits our system, but I'm not going to bet. USC unranked at home favorite against ranked Wisconsin. USC is 11-6. Wisconsin is ranked, but they're just 24 at 14-3. System would tell me to take USC, but I don't really want to bet that team. But that would be technically a Wyatt system play. But that's not a game I'm going to get involved in.
Yeah, that was one of my stronger leans on the day, but I also don't think I will. And it's really just the two last games for USC, the win against Illinois on the road and then the win against Iowa. I just think they're a little overvalued now. Um, but I don't like that Wisconsin has to go out to California. Um, yeah, I lean USC. I don't know if I'll get there. Um, I actually have two games though that at the 2 o'clock slate that I
Yep,
have
go
leans
ahead.
on. I want to see what you're thinking. I kind of like Texas Tech -4 against Arizona, and that's one of those weird lines. Sorry, I'm looking for that game here. Oh, where'd it go? Okay, right here. Yeah, Texas Tech -4. Arizona has kind of been rolling. Won like 7 or 8 in a row with ranked wins against Baylor, West Virginia, Cincinnati, but none of which were high up ranked wins. Um, Now they have to go travel to Texas Tech, which is a little bit of a tough place to play. I'm a little gun shy on Texas Tech because of their game last Saturday, which I think we were both on. Their overtime loss to Iowa State. Um, yeah, I just think the line's a little fishy. Texas Tech went on the road, got a nice road win against Kansas State, even though I know they're a very down team this year. But the line just seems a little off. I'm seeing some reverse line movement. Arizona a little bit public. The line keeps going in Texas Tech favor. So I do kind of like them, and then I kind of like Xavier as well. Xavier plus 9.5 against Marquette on the road. These teams already played back on December 21st. Marquette won that game 72-70. And you just look at Marquette in conference play, they've only won one game by more than 10 points. It was a blowout on the road against Providence, 78-50. Um, they're coming off an overtime win against DePaul where they won by 2. Only beat Georgetown by 8, Creighton by 8, Xavier by 2, Butler by 10. So they aren't really pulling away from any of these conference opponents. And like I said, they are off an overtime game where they did have to put in a bigger effort to get past DePaul. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll end up betting that one. Xavier does have 2 nice wins on the road against DePaul and then Villanova, which is always no matter how good Villanova is, it's always a nice win for a Big East team. So I don't know. I don't think I'll bet Xavier, but seems like too many points.
Yeah, that's again, I really need to dive back into the Big East because I do think there are bets to be won in that conference. I've always done very well in the Big East in years past, so that's something that I do need to jump into um, at a later at a later date, maybe once the NFL ends. Um, Continuing on here again, stop me if you do like a bet here. My next one's not till a little later. Tennessee Vandy is a little bit of a fishy line. Number 6 Tennessee traveling to Vandy and your boy AJ Hogard. Um, Tennessee is only a 5.5 point favorite. If I had the slightest of leans, I would debate on taking Vandy, but again, not gonna bet that game. Um, Texas, Florida, I'm not gonna bet, but a potentially decent matchup there. Okay, then my next game's at 5. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah,
I don't
so I
think
actually
so.
like Vandy a lot. That's like my third favorite game on the board. And it's actually coming down. I saw it at +6 earlier this morning. It's now 5. But now I'm trying to kind of remember why I liked Vandy.
AJ.
Yeah, he's staring at me right there. Um, no, I so yeah, Vanderbilt. I mean, they're a sneaky decent team in the SEC. Obviously overshadowed because of how good that conference is. But only lost to Drake, Missouri, and Mississippi State. They're off a midweek win Wednesday. They had lost 2 in a row to Mississippi State and Missouri. They got that win back in the win column against South Carolina, and now they start a 3-game top 10 uh, scheduling spot here. They're against Tennessee, then they have to hit the road to play Bama, and then come back home to play Kentucky. Um, so I just think to stay competitive in the SEC, you cannot get swept in those games. Um, so I think at this point, try to get the win here at home against Tennessee before you have to go travel to Alabama, a game that you're likely going to lose. And then don't leave it to that last game where you have to host Kentucky. I think obviously easier said than done, but I think the intensity is really going to come out against Tennessee here. And then you have Tennessee, who's off the big win against Georgia. A little bit of breathe easy spot against Vanderbilt before they start another ranked span there with Mississippi State, number 1, Auburn, Kentucky, and Florida, both top 10 teams. So, yeah, I think it's a bad spot for Tennessee. I think Vandy comes with a lot of intensity to try to get a big win. So, yeah, I'm going to be on Vanderbilt.
Okay. Again, was my lean. Probably not going to get involved. But I have no issue with that bet. My next and final bet, as of right now in college basketball, is at 5 p.m. Eastern time. This is number 2 Iowa State traveling to unranked West Virginia, 12-4 West Virginia. They did get into the rankings briefly here and then quickly got shut out. But we've talked about Iowa State. I was debating if I lose in my bookie each week, I get like a $50 free bet. Was debating on putting it on Iowa State to win it all. I do think they have a really good shot of going deep. Finally going, they've made it. I don't think they've ever made it to the Final Four recently, but they made it to the Elite Eight a couple times. I think this is finally the year that they make a deep run in March. Ended up just putting my free bets on golf, and they weren't even close. But this Iowa State team, like we mentioned, that overtime win that killed us at Texas Tech, huge win there. They're just coming off a win 3 days ago against Kansas, where they won that game by 17 points. Now they're playing a West Virginia team that got smoked by Houston, got smoked by Arizona. Got into the rankings after that win at Kansas. Was kind of a fluke 61-62 West Virginia win. But I am going to jump back on West Virginia here. I think it's just Iowa State two really, really, really tough games in a row and two fantastic wins. They now travel to a very tough and I don't know how good of basketball they are at West Virginia, but I just feel like they're very physical and are just a scrappy little team. So I think it could be a chance where Iowa State gets caught a little off guard in this game. And again, it's really hard to win on the road, and it's really hard to win on the road after two very, very physically demanding games against really good opponents for Iowa State. So I like West Virginia. I took them at the +6.5. Maybe they could do something similar like they did against Kansas and pull something out of their ass and win this game outright. But I just think it's a bad spot for Iowa State, and I think it's a fantastic spot for West Virginia to bounce back in this game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'll join you on West Virginia. I'm gonna bet it. Um, yeah, Iowa State blew out Kansas. I mean, that's a nice, letdown spot here against West Virginia. A really tough place to play. And then on the flip side, West Virginia blown out on the road against Houston. I'm sure that left a bad taste in their mouth. They want to come back and erase that memory from their mind there. So I do like West Virginia. Also, West Virginia's 23rd best defense in the country, which could slow down Iowa State. But to speak on Iowa State, I do like the thought of that future on them. Um, and I would maybe at this point potentially wait for them to lose a game or two, just to get a little bit more value. But I think the difference with Iowa State is we're so used to seeing a very solid defense with no offense. Like they're trying to win 60-55 this year. They're I think 13th in scoring offense. Um, so they can actually run with teams. So I do think that's the difference, and that can keep Iowa State in the games where against like Alabama, who if they get out and running and you fall down 15 points, the old Iowa State wasn't able to claw back into those games. This Iowa State team should be able to. So I don't hate that at all.
Yeah, I think they're going to run the table in the Big 12. I think Houston's down a little bit this year. Kansas is down a little bit this year as well. So I think Iowa State's a team to be in the Big 12. And historically, the Big 12 champion or a Big 12 contender has made it semi deep in March. I have nothing else today in college basketball. I know there's another ranked matchup in the SEC, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I wouldn't even know where to begin betting on that game. Don't know anything about either of those teams. I think they're both a little fraudulent. Um, but I got nothing else. Do you have anything else you're looking at or want to talk about before we finally get into the NFL here?
Yeah, let's see. I think I like Mississippi State, but I probably won't play it. Um, Yeah, kind of the same reason why I kind of like Vandy, but Mississippi State off two straight ranked losses, Kentucky and Auburn, so six and best team in the country, and then they have Tennessee on deck. So I think you can't lose all four of those. You need to come out of there with a win. Ole Miss with the big upset win on the road against Alabama. Now has to travel to Mississippi State with Texas A&M on deck on Wednesday. So it's a lot of points to lay with Mississippi State here, but I do think that's probably the right side. Um, but my two favorite bets on the board are actually kind of random. But I like San Diego State minus 10.5 against UNLV at 8 o'clock tonight. UNLV is off the ranked win against Utah State, the only ranked team in the Mountain West, who, as of Monday, will not be ranked any longer. Um, but now they have to travel to San Diego State. I think it's a bad spot. San Diego State is still one of the best, uh, kind of the cream of the crop of the Mountain West. Um, They are off a win against Colorado State. They have Air Force on deck, who's arguably the worst team in the Mountain West. So I just think it's kind of a bad spot for UNLV. According to Ken Palm, San Diego State is like I think 38th. UNLV is way down, like 110 or something. So Ken Palm sees quite a large difference in these two teams. I just think San Diego State is still the top team in that conference, and UNLV off a really nice win. So I think the 10.5 points there it's a lot, but I don't think it's enough. And then actually my favorite bet, the only bet I've locked in so far today, last game on the board, unless you count the midnight game, Hawaii. I like San Francisco -3 against Oregon State. Um, Oregon State off the overtime win on Thursday against Gonzaga. Now they have to travel to San Francisco 2 days later. Um, San Francisco is a really good team. They're 15-5. Um, decent scoring defense, decent offense as well. Just think kind of a letdown spot here for Oregon State. I know the public's going to like Oregon State after that win against Gonzaga. And you just, in college basketball, you don't often see 2 games in 3 days. That's what Oregon State's going to have to do after a big win. Now hit the road. So that's one I've locked in. San Fran -3 for the 10 o'clock game there.
Yeah, I don't hate either of those. I personally like the San Diego State one was slightly better. Um, but yeah, this Oregon State, yeah, I forgot they beat Gonzaga. What was that? Thursday night?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, I don't
It's
hate that
weird
at
that
all.
they're in the West Coast Conference. I can't
Are
wrap my
they?
head around that. Mm-hmm.
I saw a picture of their football stadium. It's crazy that that stadium was in the Pac-12. It's
Yeah.
tiny.
Yeah.
Like Grand Valley has a bigger stadium than Oregon State,
Yeah.
who, if you guys don't know, is a Division II school. Division II power. Well, I guess the powerhouse sounds Ferris, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, it seems like they belong in the Mountain West or the. And I need to look at the history. I wonder how long they've been in the Pac-12. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, a lot of college basketball today. We will tweet out our bets. I do need to tweet mine out here shortly. Let's get into the NFL, the sport we're all waiting for. Probably all going to watch. Very tough games to bet, in my opinion. Two very high spreads. -9 in Kansas City is our first game up. -8.5 in Detroit, second game up. Kansas City, very low total, 41.5. Detroit, very high total, 55.5. I don't think I've ever seen a playoff game with 55.5 point total. Let's head over to Kansas City. Weather reports cold in Kansas City. Lions, if you're a female DEI hire announcer or interviewer, you would ask how they deal with the weather. They play in a dome, so it doesn't really matter. That is a shot at Tampa Bay Lions a couple years ago in the not in the playoffs, but announcer asked the weather. Um, let's go to Texas or Texans Chiefs. 9 point spread, like I mentioned, 41.5. How are you going to bet this game? Are you going to bet this game? What are you leaning? What do you like? What do you hate?
I honestly don't know. Uh, if I do, it's gonna be a Chiefs money line with squares could be parlay or probably a squares could be teaser. Um, or I'll just root for the Texans to win outright. That'd be cool. I would really like that. Yeah, we were kind of talking before the show. I have no futures on Kansas City, so once again, they're my biggest liability in the postseason. Um, I mean, they're gonna win this game though, so I don't know. I don't love that game at all. The only way I could bet it is be super square and either teaser or money line.
Yeah, I am kind of leaning the under in this game as my favorite bet. The more I'm thinking about it, and again, I really want to take the Texans on the spread, but the more I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking like a 27-7 type of game where, you know, Texans really just struggled. The line is super high. Kansas City, I believe, is 0-6 or 0-6-1 this year when favored by more than a touchdown. So not great stats for Kansas City against the spread, yet they still give us an 8.5 point or 9 point favorite here for Kansas City, despite Houston looking phenomenal last week against the Chargers. The more I'm thinking about it, I just really think Kansas City is going to shut down these Texans. So I do like the under. It's probably going to be my play in this game. Also, don't hate Rashi Rice props today. Um, Let me just go over, or sorry, not Rashi Rice, Xavier Worthy. Rashi Rice has half a knee. Xavier Worthy in his last couple games, not including the game where no one played, 8 receptions on 9 targets, 79 yards and a touchdown, 7 receptions on 11 targets, 65 yards and a touchdown. That was against the Texans. 6 receptions, 11 targets, 46 yards. 5 receptions, 6 targets, 41 yards. So he's just been absolutely getting targeted and getting catches. His last 5 games, he's had 5 or more receptions, 40 or more yards. I really think it's a Xavier Worthy kind of game. I know the Chiefs just got who they just get back? Marquise Brown. Obviously, they still have Hopkins. They still have Justin Watson, Juju Smith-Schuster. So there's a lot of weapons, but Worthy is still, with all these guys coming back, with all these new additions to the wide receiver room, is still getting his targets and his receptions as of late. So my favorite prop would be a potentially worthy touchdown. But I do think my play is going to be the under of this game. It seems pretty low. These teams also just played. I forgot about this one until I looked up the worthy stats. These teams just played a couple weeks ago where the Chiefs won this one 27-19. That was the Saturday before the Christmas game. Nothing super crazy in the box score. Tank Dell at 100 yards and a touchdown. He also is pretty much dead at the moment. Yeah, that's what I'm going to lean. Probably a worthy prop and then the under. I really have a hard time arguing that teaser or the Chiefs money line, whatever you want to do, but I'm not going to give that out because it goes against everything I believe. So yeah, my play is probably going to be the under, and then probably some different worthy props is going to be my go-to bet in this game.
Yeah, I like that under. I haven't really looked into props. After we go through the next game, I do want to ask you about the king of the end zone.
Yep.
I know I think you've bet it already. I have not, but I have three guys I'm leaning towards. But yeah,
Yes.
we can cap it with that.
Do not forget about King of the End Zone. That is a DraftKings promo bet. If you do need a DraftKings deposit match or a sign up link, we are friends with them. So the link is in our bio. The link is over on our website. If you do want a deposit match or sign up bonus over on DraftKings for the King of the End Zone. Again, if you pick the longest touchdown score today, you and everyone else who picked that touchdown score get a share of $2 million. I won this one on Monday's wildcard game, gave myself a $365 bonus bet. Ended up losing that on that Auburn team we just talked about. But yeah, freaking Auburn. Let's get into our game. Commanders at Lions. Lions are a 8.5 point favorite. Like I mentioned, very high over under 55.5 on the total. I'm going to bet this game. I have bet this game. I'm going to bet more in this game. I want the prop route. Like I said, I don't trust the spread. I do lean the over. My favorite just straight bet would potentially be the team total of the Lions on the over. I think it's 32.5, 33.5, 31.5, something like that. That would be my bet if I was forced just to make one singular non-player prop bet. But I don't think I'm going to get there on the spread, even though I do think the Lions probably win this game by 2+ touchdowns. I just don't want to jinx them. Where are you going to go for in this game?
I'm gonna get so square, and I've already mentioned it, but I just looked at the odds and I'm doing it. DraftKings right now, you can do 3 team 6-point teaser: Ohio State, Kansas City, Detroit, all down to -2.5 plus 160. I'm taking it. Money line is -114, so I'm gonna trust that each team wins by a field goal. I'm freaking doing it. It's so gross, but
And that's going to end our show, guys. We'll see you next time.
I'm doing it, and then I'm gonna come back and sprinkle on Washington money line just to not jinx Detroit. But to be honest, I think your best bet in this game, and you can probably get it. I'm just looking at DraftKings. Amon-Ra St. Brown anytime touchdown, -115 DraftKings. I'm sure elsewhere you could probably get plus money. Detroit should put up 30+ points. Amon-Ra is gonna have multiple chances to score, and he's kind of the go-to guy. So that would probably be my best way to look at it. But I don't know, man. I can lose $100 on this game and just be happy if the Lions win. So
Yeah.
I'll just be betting it mostly for fun.
Yeah, I do like Amon-Ra. I took his receiving yards. I took an adjusted line of 100+. Really like that bet. I don't really believe in the Commanders' secondary. Amon-Ra has been kind of on a heater. He has 400-yard games this year. Last year, his one and only playoff game, or he played 3 playoff games last year, but his first playoff game, he had 7 receptions, 9 yards, 110, or 7 receptions, 9 targets, 110 yards. I really think it's going to be the Amon-Ra show. With that being said, I also like him to score, like you mentioned. Tough to argue Gibbs' score. Where I do think you might find some value, and I don't know if this is a dumb or a smart bet, but I do think there's some value on David Montgomery today. I know he mangled his knee, but he is back, supposedly a full participant this week in practice. Him to score, I mean, stat tax is David Montgomery to score. I think it's like down to like -130, -135. I don't hate that at all. I could already see the headline: David Montgomery back. So I don't hate him to score. Then obviously, as square as you can get, Gibbs to score. The dude is absolutely on a tear right now. 4 touchdowns in that game against Minnesota. He's had a touchdown in 5 straight games, 6 straight games. This dude is on an absolute heater. So him to score, David to score, Amon-Ra to score. I don't hate it. Now I've seen everyone and their brother on Laporta over receiving yards. I did not. I might have thrown it into a parlay, but don't love that one as much just because I do think Amon-Ra is going to get a majority of the targets. My one and only Commanders bet is going to be Scary Terry under yards. I think it's pretty obvious to take Scary Terry on the over. He is kind of Jan Daniels' go-to and kind of only guy. But yeah, he had 89 yards in the wild card round against a terrible, terrible Tampa Bay secondary. Besides that, he really struggles to get a whole lot of yards. Has got over 68, 7 times this year out of 18 games. So I like the odds. I think the Lions secondary is banged up, but I do think they're going to be able to shut down. If they shut down Scary Terry, it's game over. I don't think their run game is going to have a whole lot of success. And Scary Terry, when things get rough, I think is going to be Jane Daniels' go-to guy. So if they shut down Scary Terry, Lions should win this game easy. But again, I did post my 2 parlays over on Twitter. I will probably add potentially one more. I'm a parlay nut, especially in the Lions games, just because I don't really want to take the spread. But that's going to do it for NFL. You said you wanted to mention King of the End Zone. Let me hear it.
Yeah. So also just really quick, because you mentioned Gibbs 4 touchdown game. I have this little like daily Lions calendar thing that says stats and trivia, but I found it just kind of weird. On Thursday, the Lions fact was Barry Sanders is the only Lions player, in quotations, entering 2023 to rush for 4 touchdowns in a game. And then Gibbs just went on and did it 2 weeks ago.
Effectively, he only rushed for 3.
You're right.
He caught one.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about that. All right,
But
Barry, still the only Lion to rush for 4 touchdowns in a game.
But still impressive.
Yes. But yeah, I didn't see who you bet for King of the End Zone, so I'm just gonna give out 3 leans for me. Nico Collins would be a look. I could see him getting loose on one in that Chiefs game. But then for Lions and Commanders, I would look at De'Ami Brown for Washington and potentially Khalif Raymond for Detroit.
I don't hate it at all. Just a reminder for King of the End Zone, you can take up to 3 players in a same game parlay or 2 players in a traditional parlay, so 2 different games. We do have 2 games today. I went the second option, so I took a player from this Lions Commanders game and then a player from the Chiefs and Texans game. And I got a little square. Usually I like taking the home run shot, like you're mentioning. I don't hate either of those. De'Ami Brown, I think, is the guy. No, that was Noah Brown. Noah Brown was a Hail Mary guy, wasn't he? But De'Ami Brown still, he's a deep threat, so I don't hate that at all. Leaf is back in the lineup. He is the deep threat besides JMO, is a deep threat for Detroit, so I don't hate that at all. I went pretty square here. I went Gibbs, but to boost those props up, I did Gibbs 2 touchdowns, which doesn't really matter. If Gibbs scores, win or lose on the 2 touchdowns, that's a qualifying bet.
Right.
And then I took one in the Chiefs, Texans. I took Xavier Worthy. So I took Worthy as a deep threat, and then I took Gibbs in the one. But again, pretty square. Those are probably not going to pay out super high. But I could definitely see Gibbs going like 75 yards on the screen pass or something.
See, and that was my thought with Khalif and potential punt return as well.
Ooh, I don't know. Does that go to him or does that go to DST? I think, does it go to both?
I think it goes to both, which would be problematic because that's splitting a lot.
Yeah. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it at all. Do you have anything to add before we wrap up here for our Saturday Live? Again, we talked about college basketball, NFL, NBA, NHL. I did just post my college basketball picks. I will be adding my NFL later on Twitter. We do post all of our plays over there every single day. But do you have anything to add before we sign off for a great day of sports?
Yeah, not really. Go Lions. Just hope the Lions win today. if they win, if I lose every single bet, it's not the worst day in the world. So go Lions. Just hope they win, but hope I win my bets as well.
Yeah, go Lions, go Chiefs for Ben, not for us. I kind of hope the Texans win. Ben, please don't watch this. Until then, guys, thank you for hopping on. We might be live tomorrow for 2 more divisional round games and potentially a national championship preview as well. But hopefully, you guys can win some bets. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and commenting. We really appreciate it. Except you, Devil Doc Morgan, you can go take a bath with a toaster. Until then, guys, we will see you in the next live or the next episode. Appreciate it.